A lot of students ask, when do I use the verb to be and when do I use do or does? This topic can be very confusing, and if it's confusing for you, you are not the only one. This is a question that a lot of students ask me in class all the time. In this video, I'm going to show you when to use the verb be and when to use do or does in your questions. In all of my examples today, we're going to look at present time. So we'll start with when do we use be? If you have a question with ing, you're going to use the verb be. For example, what are you doing? Where are you going? What is she saying? Am I making sense? In all of these questions, you see that the verb is in ing form. And when we use ing, we will use the verb be. The different forms of be are am, is, and are. A verb in ing is not complete by itself. To make it complete, we also need to use a form of the verb be. Am, is, or are. What are you doing? What is he saying? Where is she going? Am I explaining this well? Something like, what does she doing? This is incorrect. Doing ends with ing, and with ing we will always use be. What is she doing? What do you saying? Also incorrect. Saying ends with ing, and with ing we're always going to use be. What are you saying? So it's very important, so I'll say it again. With ing, use be. You'll never use do or does with ing. Another time that you can use the verb be is when this is the only verb in your sentence. Something like this. Where are you from? Is she from Mexico? Is that your mother? Are those your shoes? How are you? In these questions, the verb be is the only verb. There is not another verb in the question. Be can be used in a question by itself in questions like this. We cannot use do or does in a question by itself, like, do those your shoes? Or, does she from Mexico? No. By itself, we can use the verb be, but we don't use do or does by itself. So when do we use do or does? We use do or does in a question when we have a verb in the base form. For example, where do you live? Here, live is in its base form. There is no ing on live. So in questions like this, we will use do or does. We can say, what does she want? We can use does because our subject is she, and we have want. Want is in the base form with no ing. So in this question, we're going to use does. And we only use do or does in this type of question. We don't use do or does with ing. We don't say, where do you living? No, it's where are you living or where do you live? Here are a couple of more examples with do and does. What do you think? What do they want? Where does she work? When we say them slowly, that's how they sound. But listen to how they sound when I say them more quickly. What do you think? What do you think? Notice that you don't really hear the do very much. It's very soft. What do you think? What do you think? Or what do you want? What do you want? Or this one, where does she work? Where's she work? This one is very confusing because does sounds exactly like is. They sound exactly the same. Where's she work? But you know the grammar. You know that work is a verb in the base form. So the word that you are hearing is does. Because where is she work? That's incorrect. So although does and is sound exactly the same, you know that the word there is does. So if you're writing or if you're saying it slowly and clearly, the word that you will use is does. Where does she work? Where does she work? So to review, there are 2 times that we will use be in the questions. We use be with ing. Where are you going? We can also use be alone. Is that your mother? There's one time we can use do or does in the question. We can use do or does with a verb in the base form. What do you want? So let's now review with a little quiz. I'm going to give you 10 questions and you tell me what word is missing. Is it a form of be, like am, is, or are? Or is it do or does? Number 1. Are. Who are you looking for? Looking has ing, so we know that we need to use a form of the verb be. Number 2. Does. Start is in the base form. So we're going to use a form either do or does. Here the subject is movie, so we're going to use does. Number 3. Are. Here we don't have another verb, only an adjective, happy. So we're going to use a form of the verb be. Number 4. Is. Saying has ing, so we know that we need to use a form of the verb be. Number 5. Are. Crying also uses ing, so we need to use a form of the verb. Number 6. Do. Here our verb like is in the base form, so we need to use do or does because do or does go with base verbs. Next. do. Again, visit is in the base form. So we're going to use do or does. And here the correct one is do because it's they. Number 8. Are. Here, this verb be is the only verb in the question. So we're going to use the verb be in this form, are. Number 9. Is. Again, this is the only verb in the question, so we're going to use the verb be. And number 10. Do. Again, think is in the base form, so we're going to use do. Great job! To review, there are 2 times we use the verb be. We can use it with ing, or we can use it alone with no other verbs. We use do or does with a verb in the base form. Thanks for watching.